So if there's a need and there's a community that is struggling, I'm going to show up.
Today on the Change Reaction podcast, we have our first returning guest. When we first met her on the show, she was in and out in about 12 minutes, which just wasn't enough time. I've just been blown away by the impact she's had on her community and beyond. She's one of the Change Reaction's most impactful change agents, and you'll see why I'm such a huge fan as we dive into her work in the community of Watts, the ongoing recovery from the LA fires, and what keeps her going. Let's get into it. So, Auri,
Yes.
what have you been doing for the last 8 months?
Oh my gosh, so much. Honestly, I think really the last 8 months has been focused on fire relief and stabilizing families.
Now, when I first met you,
Sure.
it was just rock era that you were working with. But since then, because we met in January, I think
it was.
late January, maybe early
think so.
February, right? And you had started doing the fire relief stuff. And that became what? You started another organization?
Yeah, so we formed what's called Stand With LA. So it was a coalition of 4 nonprofits, 4 Black women that we just decided to step in and support the families in Altadena, Pasadena, and the Palisades. And honestly, again, I just really felt like as soon as I saw what was happening on TV with the fires, I'm a person of motion, and I really felt like I had to jump in, and I can't just sit back and watch something like that happen. And so I've got the team together, and we went straight to John Muir High School, which they were doing a lot of donation drives at the time. And we jumped in and started just helping, and I met a lot of people, and I was praying with them right on the spot, and I instantly thought to call the Change Reaction. I knew that they were going to be doing something, soon. And so I called Ela from the Change Reaction. She said, give me a couple days. And as soon as I heard back, she said, you have to go ahead to find as many families as you can. We're giving away, checks to as many families. And so I think our first list, we had 300 families on that list within just under a couple weeks.
Now, you first got into it, and you got into the sort of immediate relief effort with Rock Era, with your partners at Rock Era. How did you then start connecting with others who are also in the work, who are now part of this Stand With LA coalition?
Well, I've been working with them through Rock Era, so I knew these
Incredible.
women, and I just knew who was heart led and who would be able to jump into action really quick. And I knew we had to mobilize really quickly. There wasn't a lot of time to think about much. It was just, let's get these families. And we had some connections through a church in Pasadena. And from that church, from that meeting, we all went there. I think we spent 10 hours at the church just signing people up for this. And it was just devastating. It wasn't even, and this was like minutes after the fire. This was days after the fire. So it was a whole entire session of praying and hugging and just being there. It wasn't just about, it's never just about the check, right? It really is important that we show these families that we're here for them, and we're in this, for the long haul. So
What's so cool about watching you work is you really epitomize something that Wade and I talk about a lot. We talk about how the way that the Change Reaction works is like, we don't ask for permission.
Right.
We're just kind of getting in and doing. And you really just embody that. You just see it and go.
Right.
Has that always been your mode?
I think so. I mean, again, all this work that I do is really personal. I grew up, my childhood was a struggle, but also I think it created who I am today. My mom, I grew up with a single parent home. My father was incarcerated. And so I had a lot of adversity. We relied on every single government assistance out there. And so I think what she taught me was, even when we didn't have much ourselves, she would give back to anybody. She would give the clothes off of her back. She would give, the last bit of food that we had to the community, to neighbors that needed it. So that planted a seed in me to have compassion for humanity and for people. So I think it's a personal, I think I have a different understanding of the community and of people. And I don't know, I just think because of how I grew up, and understanding that, it took a lot of people to come into my life, and especially mentors and things like that changed the trajectory of my life. I now want to do that for everybody else, including the kids, including the fire survivors, just anybody that I can, pour into.
Where does the work end for you, and where does your life sort of begin? Or is it so intertwined that the work is your life? I just want to kind of understand, because it seems like you're on 24/7.
I am, and I've been having these conversations with other people, other nonprofit leaders. I think it's important. I've learned over the last year or so to really pour into myself. I think and other nonprofit organizations and just community leaders can understand this. They know who I'm talking about here. We give ourselves 1,000%. We're, like you just mentioned, it's 24 hours a day. There was some times where there's no pause. But I've learned that I can't really pour into others if my cup is empty, right? So now with the fires, that's a little bit different, because I understood the faster that I moved, the faster that our team was able to mobilize, the quicker these families would get support. So it's been a interesting 9 months, I'll say the least. But I have found times and told my team, hey, take a day off, take the weekend off. But again, if there's a family that's reaching out to me on a Saturday and I'm available and they need, rental assistance, they found a place to live, I'm going to take the call. And it's just again, because I understand just growing up with a lot of adversity, I just want to be that support to so many people, including the kids that we work with.
I mean, what's it like for you? Because you've been working with her for years. I've been watching you for a couple of months, and I'm fascinated, right? Because you're such a model. But what's it like for you? Because you've seen this evolution take place over the 5 odd years that the Change Reaction's been in place and been.
Yeah, I mean, Auri is an incredibly inspiring woman and a doer, and not the type of person who sort of sits back and overthinks things and tries to find reasons not to do something. Right. I think you're always looking for reasons to respond. Yeah. And you lead with your heart. Right. And so it's a beautiful thing to see, even the evolution of Rock Era and just caring for these kids. And Rock Era, I mean, it's not just about the art programs and all the other things you're doing. Right. You and your team are taking care of children who grandma's taking care of from the foster care system, and you're offering to sort of provide some kind of respite, like take a rest, we'll take the kids for a while. Sure. The heart behind it is the most beautiful thing. Yeah. And between Auri and her entire team, you've helped hundreds of families who are affected by the fires. Right. And you're helping 50, 60 families a week at this point, it seems like. Yeah, that's all true. And so it's just it's humbling because it's somebody who is also gathering and mobilizing other people who lead with their heart. Yeah, and I don't really think about this work. I just do it. I've said that often in interviews. I don't really think about it. I don't think about what I'm doing. It's just jumping in, like he said, and just I'm a doer. And I always call myself a person of motion. I'm constantly just where I need to be.
You don't think about it, but do you ever get a chance to reflect on it?
I do. In moments like this, I do. In moments like this where I can tell my story and really think about and talk about it openly, the impact that myself and my team have made. And there are moments, again, in Rock Era when I always say if I can change one child's life, and there's been many moments where I've heard from parents or heard from the students themselves that have said, my life is better, or I'm doing this now because I had your program. So I'm already starting to see that. But again, I'm in it right now.
And when you're in it, you don't always get to see the forest for the trees kind of thing.
Right, exactly.
Right. But there's always lessons that are learned, right?
Sure.
What are, I want to kind of let's look over the last few years from the beginning of Rock Era to now. Sure. Right. What are some of the most important lessons that you think you've picked up from this? Because again, you came in with this is your heart. Right. This is how you were raised. Right. So you had a great model in your mom. Yeah. Right. But you still had to learn lessons along the way. She couldn't teach you everything. She could give you the spark. Of course. What are some of the things that you've learned from dedicating your life this way?
I mean, I think showing up is one of the most important things. I think in the beginning, I didn't have a lot of money. I just started the nonprofit without knowing what that meant. I just knew that I wanted to give to these kids. That's all that I cared about, being that consistent person in their lives. Because a lot of organizations, they'll come in, they'll be there for a second, they'll do a big giveaway, and then they never see them again. So that's something that I noticed right away. And it was important in my childhood that I had consistency. I had mentors that came in when my mom was working, all day long and wasn't home a lot. I had those programs. I had the Boys and Girls Club. I had those mentors that I could lean on and that poured into me and saw me and empowered me to, continue on to whatever I wanted to do in life. But I think that's something that I definitely learned was that these kids just need somebody to be there for them. And just building those relationships. I think that's what I've done really, really well. And that's just what I'm good at, I think, is having those relationships, like being in the community, making relationships with the community members, the families. It's not, it's about the entire, and building that trust within these different communities. Because now I could say in Watts, like, I definitely am our organization is very embedded in the schools and all of the housing projects. I mean, those kids, when they see our van, it's like, it's almost, they know, they come running down the street, Miss Auri, So I think showing up is a really important lesson that I've learned. And also, to pour into myself a little more sometimes. But yeah, I think I've learned just to step by step, day by day, and I think we have grown really quickly. That's the thing, is that from the beginning until now, I could have never imagined some of the platforms that we've been able to share our story and share our mission. So, yeah.
The vision in the beginning, right, was really just to be there for those kids.
Yeah.
The same kind of way that others were there for you.
Yeah.
But over time, I got to imagine that vision has evolved. Like, what do you dream for this?
I mean, I think, again, I'll say the same statement, just one child's life that I can impact. I've done my job, but I envision more programs like this. I want more programs, more people to come into the community and pour into these kids, right? They deserve everything that everyone else has, just because they've been given, their circumstances. And ROC stands for regardless of color. And I did that on purpose. Regardless of the color of their skin, regardless of where they come from, what their address is, they deserve to be seen and celebrated. And, that's one thing that we do too. We come into the community and we take them outside. We pick them up in the van and we take them around LA. We take them to live theater shows. We give them opportunity to see outside of their four walls. And so I think that's really important.
Can we talk about the community for a sec? Because it started in Watts,
right?
And it's based firmly in Watts.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Watts for a second?
Sure.
There's something about it as a community that makes it one. I mean, it has such a great need, just because of the socioeconomic nature of it. But there's something about the people there that makes Watts really unique, because there are a number of organizations that are deeply embedded in there, and that community is very, very tight-knit and very engaged with itself. What's your perspective on Watts and what makes it special?
I think it's the people. I think, like you just said, Watts, I hear often it stands for We Are Taught to Survive, right? So and I hear that a lot. And so I think that, no matter the circumstances, no matter what they're, constantly facing, they're there for each other. It's a big, and the thing about our organization is we're in every single housing development. And that was one of our goals in the beginning, was to bring the different kids from the different neighborhoods together. Because you can't always do that, especially with, gang affiliation and just generational trauma and all the things that come along with Watts. We're able to pick them up and take them away from that and all of that. We just did a program last week with 20 different girls, 5 from each housing project. And as soon as you take them out, all of that goes away. They don't care what school you go to, what neighborhood, what, street address you have. We're able to strip that. So I think it's the community. I think they really do take care of their people.
Can you paint kind of a picture for listeners
Sure.
about you just mentioned the different housing projects. But for people who don't know, what are the dynamics? What are kids up against? And just to plant a seed,
Sure.
Kids can't cross the street safely.
Exactly.
So can you paint a picture for people about what are the conditions? What are these kids growing up in?
Yeah. So, if you know Watts, we're dealing with 2 major major gangs. You've got the Bloods and the Crips. I don't want to get too deep into that. But, you know, kids are taught, like I just said, to survive. So we're dealing with, you know, kids afraid to go into different neighborhoods based on their parents or their parents' affiliation with certain, you know, gangs or organizations. So it really is. And I've done, you know, we've done the facts. It's considered the most dangerous neighborhood in Los Angeles, the most amount of shootings and gang affiliations and all the things. So we really are. But, you know, and I've heard before that some organizations, they won't even come into Watts because of that. They won't even step into the city or go into the community centers. And from the day I walked in, I never think about that. All I see when I go in there is an incredible community, and I see those babies that are they just want to be kids, right? Like I said, we just had a program last week, and I asked, this is ages 7 to 12, and I said, how many of you have been in a fight? And every single person, every single child has been in multiple fights already, and it's real. It's reality. And so my goal is to go in there and say, hey, just because this is where you're from, it doesn't mean this has to be your reality. You don't have to fight. You don't have to join a gang. You don't have to, you know, and hopefully I have some impact on that, you know, and I show them opportunities and other things that they can do. But it is hard. They are facing so much adversity from, again, the gang affiliations, the living conditions, the housing conditions. It's just, it's a plethora of things. And I really feel like, again, I'm a woman of faith, and I do feel like God called me to that city. Almost 5 years ago.
You know, the thing about Watts, and it's storied in its history of violence. And we've talked about it before too, how oftentimes, you know, it's generational trauma.
Absolutely.
And it's just so interwoven in the fabric of the place that it almost, for people who haven't experienced it or are unfamiliar or are afraid of it, like it's something to be written off.
Right.
Do you see it as tragic forever, or is it something that over time, with people and programs such as yours, that it could eventually overcome that? Or is it just, this is the way that it is?
I don't think I can see the entire city changing, but again, programs like ours coming in, we can change the generations. Mm-hmm. You know, I just realized recently when I did this program last week that I have, you know, we started 5 years ago with a certain amount of kids, and now I have all of their younger siblings, right? So I did the program with the older siblings, and now they're in high school and moving on. And now here we go again, 5 years later, we are now with all of their siblings. So to me, I don't see there being an answer for all of it, but I do see how we can impact the generations that are coming.
And Auri, just to dig in a little bit deeper, if you were to take all these organizations out of that area, what are the opportunities for a young person? When you strip all of that away, what are the opportunities that they have?
I mean, nothing really. I mean, not nothing, because they do have their families, they do have, you know, their community, but they wouldn't have a lot of resources and access to anything, kind of like how it was for me when I was younger. I think you grow up and either you get into a gang or, you know, you get into, I mean, there's so many other things. I don't really want to get too personal with Watts, but, you know, with the young ladies, there's things that they could turn to that, you know, so I think it's crucial that we're in there. I think that there's not a lot of resources without the nonprofits.
And in a lot of ways, you're a messenger saying, hey, there are other opportunities.
Sure.
There's another side of life.
Absolutely.
So when you get kids in the van and you take them outside of that, it must, I mean, it's probably like they're seeing something for the first time.
Absolutely.
That for most of us, we've seen many times.
Absolutely. I've taken the kids to the beach for the first time ever. And that's just a couple miles away, right? We're talking about Watts, and, you know, there's just been experiences that I'll never forget with these kids. And again, like, they know, Miss Auri, I'm not just their mentor. Like you said, I've taken kids in our home. They've slept over. They've been, you know, if we needed to do respite care for certain families, these are my kids. And they know that. They know that I would do just about anything for them, just like my mom did for the community. if they need anything, their parents know they can call me. And that's, I think that's just, and sometimes people say, well, that's, crossing boundaries. But for me, it's, I have a love and a passion for this community and for these families.
Is the work that you do in Watts something that could potentially be replicated in other communities? Because it's not the only community with needs, and it's not the only community with this kind of particular makeup of personalities and of gangs and of backgrounds and all of these things. What would it take to replicate Rock Era or something like it in another community? What have you learned from that experience?
I mean, we've been in other communities. I think we just keep coming back to Watts because that's where we started, and that's where our commitment is. But we've taken it to a little bit in Long Beach. We've taken it to the Crenshaw area. And I think, you asked me earlier what my vision would be. I've always dreamed of having like a center or something where, the kids can come, because right now it's very mobile. Obviously, we have our van, thanks to the Change Reaction, that we're able to transport our kids all over. But I think replicating it would just be really just how, and I think that's the thing that I'm always trying to figure out. People always say, well, why is your program so successful? And I think it's back to Wade's point, it's heart-led, right? We're not coming in here like, it's not, we're coming into the community based on their needs, based on the kids' needs, based on what they're facing, and we're coming in and just pouring in and empowering. So I think it could absolutely be replicated. And I hope that, more youth programs are created.
But it would take also someone with the same kind of makeup in their heart,
exactly,
that you have.
Yeah,
and that's
hard
a rare
to teach
thing.
that.
Yeah,
it's hard to teach that.
Either have it or you don't. Right?
Exactly. And I've tried to teach, and but it's just in you, I guess.
It reminds me almost of the conversation we were having with Aaron a few episodes ago, Aaron Valencia from Lost Angels, and how hard it's been to replicate Lost Angels, because it takes another Aaron. It takes another Auri.
Sure.
And they're out there.
Sure.
And you have them on your team.
Yeah.
And you know those folks. But in order for it to have the impact that it's not about a workbook, it's not about a curriculum.
Exactly.
That's helpful, but it's about the heart.
The heart, and who's leading it.
Yeah.
And the kids know. They can see right through it. They can see your heart right away. They'll know if you're there for real or if you're, there for other reasons.
I was just about to ask, like, how do you build that level of trust with those kids that they're willing to come home with you?
Exactly.
Right.
Well, they want to. It's almost like they beg me every time can we come to your house? Because we have this beautiful community house in Long Beach. And we have a room dedicated for the kids. So there's 4 sets of bunk beds. We have a trampoline outside. We do a lot of programs there. And again, we wouldn't have opened those doors without the Change Reaction. They were a lifeline for us for many, many, many different things.
I mean, you talk about people who take their work home with them. You literally take the work home with you.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful thing that you do. The relationship that you have with the Change Reaction, it really started, as far as I understand, like it started with them kind of coming in and providing you and Rock Era with support, but you've really deepened the relationship over the last couple of years. I mean, now look, I'm in staff meetings, I see you in staff meetings, like how Wade, I want to ask you, like, how did you kind of convince someone who's as busy as she is to come in and like pour into what you guys are doing?
There was no convincing.
There was no convincing at all.
No.
I am in complete alignment with the Change Reaction. Again, like heart led. That's who I am. So for me, it didn't even start with them. First, it started. I was a change agent at first, so I was just already in the community, and so it was just a blessing to be able to not only work with the kids, but then offer their family support. Like say, hey, we have this. If your family needs anything, if you're, whatever it is, we're there to support. But then they turned around and became a lifeline for us. I mean, again, the van that we're still driving to this day, we didn't have a vehicle to take them. So I was putting them in my car. We were doing multiple trips. I was squeezing in, shouldn't have been, but 9 to 10 kids. And we won't
talk about it.
We won't talk about that. But, so then they surprised us with this thing. I'll never forget that day.
That was such
honestly,
a great day.
It was one of the best days of my life. I had no idea. And they showed up. They set me up. They brought all of my kids from Watts, I don't know, I don't know where it was, somewhere out here, somewhere far away. And I was blindfolded, and I took the blindfold off. All of my kids came running from the different areas in this random park, like my babies, right? And and they said, turn around. And there was the whole Change Reaction team and this beautiful pink 15-seater van with my kids' faces all over it. I mean, in the video, I fall to my knees. Like, I could not believe that someone would, care so much. And that was the moment I realized, okay, Change Reaction, this is different. This is different, and I want to be a part of that, And then, again, a couple months later, we had this opportunity to get this house. And Greg said, absolutely. They supported us. We would not have opened those doors without the Change Reaction. So I just, it's an honor to be working alongside. And it's a small team. It's not a very big team.
No.
But the difference is they're all heart-led. So it just feels like it was all sort of meant to be. I didn't know it would be in this capacity, but I think everything was working out the way it should have. And I think just me becoming a change agent, and then the evolving, and then the fires, I just knew to call the Change Reaction. I knew that there was going to be something. I did not see it in this magnitude, but I'm honored and blessed to be able to still be 9 months later stabilizing families. I mean, yesterday I talked to 11 people, and I get to call them today after this and say, you all got support, including vehicles. Like, it's a blessing.
Can you talk more about the work you and your team are doing with fire relief and what because it's been out of the news cycle for quite a while.
Yeah.
You don't even hear about it anymore.
Exactly.
It's
the
on
cameras
your
are off.
front page every day.
Yeah.
And your team.
Yeah.
What are you seeing? What is the impact that you're having?
I mean, I'll say, since I saw you, I think we are triple. I don't know exactly. I think you mentioned 1,000 families, but I know on our side, we're almost at the 500 mark. So, which is insane. That means we've done essentially half of the stabilization. But it's work that I think I didn't realize I could even do. I mean, this work is, when I think about it, I think about the amount of families that we've stabilized, the amount of calls that I've made, the amount of stories that I've heard. There are times that I hang up the phone and I just have to cry, because you just can't imagine losing everything unless you've really experienced it. But what I'm able to be is that sound, that voice for those people. And, I've gotten so many messages saying, hey, just recently I got a text saying, hey, thanks for being human. Thanks for making me feel not judged on this phone call. And and the thank you notes that we get, it's just incredible. I mean, you just can't imagine. And again, when I saw the fires happening, my heart I just felt this in me of like, what are we going to do? And you're right, the cameras are off now. The cameras are off. We're on to the next thing. But we, the Change Reaction, and a couple other organizations are still actively, helping families stabilize, being that support system. And I can't imagine stopping this work at this point. I really am invested, and I've created so many relationships, so much as I've joined a church in Pasadena, because that was the first church we went to. And I've just been so invested in this. I feel like I'm an honorary member of Pasadena, Altadena now. It's incredible.
It is so gnarly what happened in those communities, and something you might not know about me, but I lived in New Orleans for a very long time.
Okay.
And I worked for CNN 20 years ago when Hurricane Katrina happened.
Oh my gosh.
And I was called back in by CNN to go work in New Orleans, because I knew the area and I was familiar with it and had relationships and whatnot. And I stayed there for a very long time afterwards, because once the headlines go away, you still have an entire city that needs to recover. And I was struck just a couple of months ago, just at the beginning of the month, actually. It wasn't even a couple of months ago, a couple of weeks ago, that it's been 20 years. Gosh. And the signs of that experience and those scars are still there.
Absolutely.
They're still there. The scars that people carry within them are still there. The cameras go away. Mm-hmm. The coverage goes away. Mm-hmm. It'll come back in January, like when we've hit a year and everybody likes a nice little headline. But the work that you're doing and the work that the Change Reaction is doing, I said it in the beginning, this is not something that's going to end when the fires end. It's not something that's going to end 9 months from now, which is where we are now.
Yeah.
So What is that like for you, knowing that you've made such a huge commitment to this, and you've been able to have such a massive impact,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But to know that this isn't going away when we hit the 1 year,
Right.
and that this trauma and this experience that people have gone through is going to stick with them, because
Right.
now you're embedded in the community.
Right.
How do you think about that? Like, does that, the burden, the emotional toll when people share with you their stories, right? Like you said, it sometimes brings you to tears.
Yeah. Often.
Like, have you considered how long you're going to be in this work with this, or is this just another example of you just making a commit to do the most amount of good you can do?
I think that's really it. I think I don't see myself stopping this work anytime soon. I mean, the Change Reaction has, committed to continuing to support as long as they can. And I'm in it, even if when the funding runs out, I mean, I'm still going to find ways to continue to support the community in whatever way I can. I think, again, I feel like God sort of put me in this position for a reason, to be that support and be that voice for so many. And yes, and I've thought about that this work is not, they're going to be stabilizing and rebuilding for years to come. But there's been a lot of support, which is great in those communities, but I'm locked in.
And what are you seeing? The faith community has really stepped up.
Yeah.
And maybe, I mean, they've always been present. I don't mean to say they haven't stepped up in the past, but they've really become instrumental in these stabilizations, stabilizing families, identifying families. Mm-hmm. So maybe can you talk a little bit about the faith community coming together in these areas?
Of course. I mean, there's a lot of churches that were completely burnt to the ground. But there are, again, I can talk about the church that I now attend, Pasadena Church, East Campus. They're still doing donation drives every Saturday. I mean, these pastors and the faith community have come together to wrap their arms around this entire community. And there's a lot of organizations that are local that are doing incredible work. So I think it really does take a village to really, bring this community back. And I've heard from some of the residents that it'll never be the same. When you think about generational wealth and legacy, a lot of these homes were passed down or would have been passed down to the next generation in their family, and it's gone, right? And some people don't have the option to even rebuild. It's not even an option based on insurance or just whatever it is. So I think the faith community, to answer your question, has been incredible, and they are continuing to support the community alongside us.
I also think about, to hear you talk about, generational wealth and community and family. I have a deep connection to the island of Maui.
Yeah.
Some family, extended family in Lahaina, which was devastated by a wildfire. They're still in the recovery process. 2+ years later, rebuilding has barely begun. It's a huge fight.
Right.
Are you seeing the kind of resiliency within the community for those who have decided to stay and rebuild? Because, in Hawaii, for the people of Hawaii, for the Makana, it's everything.
Sure.
It's their legacy. It's their history. It's everything.
Sure.
So for them, they're in it because it's all they have, but two, it's the last vestige of culture in a lot of ways, because so much of it's been paved over and colonized.
Sure.
Do you find that same kind of resiliency and stick-to-itiveness in the Altadena and Pasadena community?
Absolutely. There are, the saying, Altadena is not for sale. I mean, there are some incredible community leaders that have lost everything but are still advocating. I mean, they've really come together as a community. It's not a very big community. I mean, I didn't even know about I knew about Pasadena, but I'd never heard of Altadena before the fires, which is just crazy. But yes, there are a lot of people that lost their homes that are absolutely determined to make sure that Altadena stays and preserves, and that are doing work, that are doing policy work, that are doing as much work as they can to rebuild.
Because it can be disheartening.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much red tape and
of
politics, and I can't even imagine dealing with an insurance company
Yeah.
on something like this.
Oh my
it
God.
can wear people down.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what they're depending
Sure.
on. They're
It's
depending on
designed for
people to
it,
be
yeah.
broken.
Yeah.
Right. But
Right.
you're not seeing that at this point.
I mean, it just depends on it depends on what they have. Like you said, if they're dealing with insurance stuff with FEMA, there's just different cases. It's based by, case by case. But I think there's a strong community that is determined to make sure that Altadena rebuilds and again keeps that same magic that they had. I think there's some and I again, there's a lot of community leaders that are advocating for the community, helping educate those who don't know about rebuilding or need that resource. So, and we're kind of in that phase. We're getting there slowly, moving from stabilization to the rebuild.
And you're starting to see houses go back up.
Oh yeah.
In the community. I passed by a couple of weeks ago and drove through.
Yep.
And so you're starting to see signs of life again.
Building. Yep. Businesses.
Which gives people
being
a lot of
rebuilt.
hope. I mean, it gave me a lot of hope just seeing sticks in the air, the foundation
Right.
up and,
Right.
construction crews and
Right. Yeah, no, I think it's happening. I haven't been there. I think I was there like a month ago, and it was pretty devastating still because I saw a lot of just empty lots. But I think now people are finally in that phase. They're finally in the phase of, okay, let's talk plans, let's figure out all the thing. But there's still that demographic that is kind of, lost and needs like support, whether they're renting or whether they're still looking for housing. But I do feel the hope. I think the hope is coming back. And again, we're able to be, our team and the Change Reaction is able to be that voice of hope too.
One of the things that stuck out to me over the years of talking to people who have been through similar situations, where they were faced with the prospect of having to rebuild everything, was that, and I've heard it a couple times too in hearing people's stories through people that we've supported, is that they don't know if they have it in them. They don't know if they have it in them to rebuild, whether it's financial or just the energy.
Sure.
And I'm struck by how committed you are to the work that you're doing. And this may seem like a cynical question, but this is not going to be the last time we're faced with something like this. We live in California.
Sure.
We live in climate change. We live in earthquake country. It's just inevitable. Do you have it in you for the next one? And where do you find it?
Again, I think this lit something in me that I didn't realize that I had. So absolutely. I mean, it just, again, I'm going to go back to what I always say. I'm a person of motion. I cannot sit back. So if there's a need and there's a community that is struggling, I'm going to show up. That's what I've done. During the pandemic, I was a Red Cross volunteer. Nobody would come out and volunteer. I was out there with triple masks, making sure that the families, they were doing, feeding the families from LAUSD. And I was out there for 4 months. And this was at the beginning. So I absolutely. The answer is yes. I will be ready while still continuing to support, Altadena, Pasadena.
Okay, this right here, that's why I had to have her come back on this show. This right there.
Yeah.
That's it. Like you can't fake the funk.
No.
Like that's
It's just
it.
it's in my blood. It's in my DNA.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good just to be around it. Like it's such a statement, but you're a vibe. You are a whole vibe.
Thank you.
It's the best.
Okay.
I want to ask you something, because we talk about generosity as like an energy, right? And I want to know if that's been your experience. Like you've lived this life where you've been a receiver of generosity, and now you are a generator of generosity. And one of the, this may be a little woo, don't care. The more generosity that you put out, the more goodness that you receive. Have you found that to be true in your experience? Because you're doing the most.
Yes, I often hear that I'm highly favored. If I think that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I am often like, what? Why me? Even like you mentioned when I was talking to Brooke about coming on again, and how I was like determined to make sure my team was able to come the first time. I always wonder why me, and I don't really. I don't want the spotlight, right? I want to continue the work, right? But I think, yes, I feel that as of late, especially, I feel that a lot of people have said to me, you are highly favored. And I think that must mean that I'm doing something right. That must mean that the work that I'm so passionate about and will refuse to stop doing must be why. That's all I can think.
Well, there's a level of humility too
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
think is in partnership with the generosity and being a generator.
Yeah.
Sure.
That you don't publicize your work a lot.
No.
You're not
No.
looking for attention. You're not looking
No.
for a pat on the back.
No.
So when it comes, it's a gift.
Yeah.
It's not an expectation.
Right.
So your
to
humility
understand that.
is part of that beautiful heart of yours.
Right. Right. I think that's true. And you said it exactly. I don't like the spotlight. I do this work because I'm passionate about it and I want to get it done. And I don't need, all of that. I want to make sure that the focus stays on the work that we're doing.
100%.
Yeah.
And at the same time, like for me as a storyteller,
Sure.
I want to put the
Of
light on you
course.
because I
Of
want people to
course.
see you.
Of course.
And I want people to see the work that you're doing.
Of course.
And I want them to hear this from you, from your perspective.
Yeah.
Right? Because you are a person of motion.
Right.
You are in this.
Right.
For people who look at you, hear your story, see the work that you're doing, hear about the impact that you're making, and they become inspired, but they don't know where to start,
Sure.
what would you tell somebody who wants to follow your example? What would you tell them?
I would say it doesn't take a lot to start. I would say you don't have to be a superhero. You don't have to be a celebrity to create change. You just have to have something that you're passionate about, and you get started. You fill in the gaps, but also remember to take care of yourself while doing that. It's very important. But yeah, I would say just start. I would say get out into your community. Again, if you're passionate about something, run with that. My passion has always been working with youth and impacting the future generations to come. So that's where I found my strength, and that's why we've been so successful with, with Rock Era. But I would say just start. Just start and find something that you care about, and always lead with love. Always lead with love.
And I just have to say, I mean, we're in the
That
city of
wasn't
angels.
cliche.
Yeah.
We're sitting next to one right now.
I
Oh, I hope
mean,
that wasn't so
and-
cliche, but lead with love.
And I think the city owes you a debt of gratitude. And I know that's not what you're looking for.
No.
But I'm deeply grateful to have you on our team and to have your heart on our team. And the additive component, you've added so much to our work.
Yeah.
And so I just celebrate the beginning of our relationship
Sure.
and all the touch points along the way
Yeah.
that have now brought us to this point.
Right. And I feel the same way.
Thank you.
It's an honor. Thank you.
She is just the best. Aurianna Tuttle is part of so many different initiatives throughout Greater LA, and if you want to know more about Rock Era or Stand With LA, you can check out all the links in our show notes below. Also, thanks again to Wade Trimmer for riding shotgun with me today. If you're watching this on YouTube, we've got a ton of other incredible inspirational stories on our channel, so give this episode a like, maybe hit subscribe, and keep up on all things Change Reaction. Thanks for watching. I'm Matt West, and we'll see you next time.